Good afternoon, I'm Brianna Vasquez. The Kraken fired head coach Dan Bylsma yesterday after one season in charge. Now, President Ron Francis is about to speak to the media about yesterday's moves and what that means for the future of the Kraken.
Okay. Am I working? Thanks, Dee. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks very much for coming today. It's a very important day for the Kraken, and we appreciate you being with us. Just before we hand it to the table here, just a couple notes on the run of show. Each of the people at the table here will have opening remarks, and then we'll go into a Q&A session. De'Ara, Kyle, and maybe a few others have microphones, so just put your hand up and we'll come to you. If you could give your name and affiliation, that'd be great. We are streaming live today. Once we go, we encourage you to ask your questions from the floor as much as possible. At the end, we'll come to the front of the stage and give the cameras a second to set up, and we'll set up a photo op for everybody. And then at the very end, I don't think Jason's met a lot of you, so I'd like to spend a few minutes just introducing himself, and we'll do that at the very end. With that, I will hand over to Samantha Holloway.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Good afternoon. Yesterday was a difficult day as we parted way with our coach. I want to sincerely thank Dan and express my gratitude for his hard work and dedication over the last 4 years, both here and in Coachella Valley. Last week, we made an announcement about our reinvention to ticketing and benefits on the heels of our first season with a new broadcast approach. All of this to show our appreciation for our fans, our growing fan base, as well as our fans and season ticket members that have been with us since year one. I want to thank Todd for building this organization from the ground up with a truly fan-first approach. But today, we're here to talk about the team. And we're here to talk about a hockey structure that we believe will improve us and lead to a sustained playoff team. I want to give Ron credit for building this hockey organization from nothing. And after 4 years, we have a lot of key pieces in place, but we're anxious to take the next step. And that starts with Ron moving to President of Hockey Operations. He will elevate to work more broadly on scouting, player development, as well as overall management. But everyone at this table is committed to winning. Our hockey folks and our staff have worked hard and deserve winning. Our partners and our fans who support us every night deserve winning. So we're moving to a model that many teams in the NHL have adopted with a president and a GM, and we believe that will set us up for the future. So in addition to Ron, we are elevating someone else today, someone with his own great resume of hockey achievement, who also helped us build this great organization that we have a lot to be proud of. So I'm going to turn it over to Ron to introduce our new EVP and new general manager.
Thank you, Sam. Firstly, I do want to start by thanking Dan Bylsma and his wife, Mary Beth, for everything they did for our organization the past 4 years. Days like yesterday are never easy, but they are terrific people, and we wish them nothing but the best moving forward. You know, as we look forward with this organization, I think it's exciting. You look about where we're at, the amount of cap space we have, the amount of draft capital we have, including 10 first and second round picks in the next 3 years. You look at the list of talented prospects we have coming. You look at the fact that free agents have wanted to sign here in Seattle because of our city, our fans, our facilities, and our ownership's commitment to building a winning team. So those are all exciting things. And we start tonight in Coachella Valley for the third consecutive year they're playing in the playoffs. So that's where we're trying to get to here with the Kraken, and we're trying to make this organization be able to get to the playoffs and be there on a consistent basis. And that's where I'm excited about what we're doing here today. As Sam said, there's probably well over a third of the teams already that are using this kind of setup, and talking with a lot of those guys, they feel that this has helped their organization propel themselves forward into getting to that position quicker. So this is something we've been talking about for a while, and I'm excited that it's happening today. The man sitting next to me, I'm excited to introduce him. Jason has been an assistant GM for 10 years with the Pittsburgh Penguins, of which he was part of 3 Stanley Cup championships. He sat in the GM chair for 3 years in Buffalo. We worked together at the World Championships in 2019 for Hockey Canada, and recently he's been our assistant GM for 5 years. He's bright, he's hardworking, and he shares the same passion that we all do, and that's making the Kraken organization one that is competitive each and every year. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our new Executive Vice President and General Manager, Jason Botchwell.
Thank you very much, Ron, for the kind words. I really do appreciate it. Sam, Victor, Todd, and the entire ownership group, I thank you for this opportunity. It's an honor to be the second general manager of the Seattle Kraken. I'm deeply committed to building a winner for this organization and for this city. I've been a part of the Kraken since the beginning. I know the players in this organization. I know the staff in this organization. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished, but as we head here into year 5, it's time for our organization to take the next step. I've had the opportunity to be a part of Stanley Cup champions. I've been as a player and executive, been a part of organizations that's had success. And in my mind, the pieces are here for the Kraken to have success in the future. 1, we have strong, supportive ownership. 2, we have a passionate fan base that brings an intensity every game night to Climate Pledge Arena. 3, we have a core group of players that love being in Seattle and want to have success here. And finally, 4, we have a pipeline of young players coming who are pushing for spots on the NHL roster. The future is very bright with the Seattle Kraken. This summer is going to be extremely busy. I'm excited about the resources that I'm going to have at my disposal to improve this roster. And I can assure you that we will improve it for next year and build on this team for not only a solid year next year, but for years to come. I can't wait to get started. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll just chip in with a couple of things. First, Dan Bylsma is a really wonderful man. I saw him in the locker room of the Calder Cup Finals twice. We didn't win, but it was an incredible achievement. And he came here with the best of intentions, and I think we all wish him the absolute very best. And I will then sort of transition. I'm so proud of so much of what we've done. Building arenas, building training centers, building out Coachella Valley, building out our brand, going deep with the community. But we still have work to do. And I'm a guy that the last 2 organizations I was with, one went to the Super Bowl and the other went to the Stanley Cup Finals. So I would like to think I know what the pedigrees of winning are, and I believe we have it. We have it in Ron, who's deeply committed and stood up an organization during a very tough time. We have it in Jason, who's humble, but 3 consecutive gold medals as a player, led Hockey Canada. He has got an incredible resume, and he might be looking as though he was a candidate of convenience, but in fact, this guy was going to be a general manager in this league at some point in time, and I couldn't be more proud to sit next to him. But I, at the end of the day, salute our ownership, because today was not the path of least resistance. People weren't saying we had to part company with our coach, but our owner has been incredibly supportive and pushes us for excellence. And when you talk about a pedigree and winning and dreaming about winning and building a long-term winner here, it does start with ownership, and we're all incredibly blessed to have a great owner. Welcome, sir. You're going to love Seattle, and we're honored to have you as our general manager.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Todd.
We'll move to questions now. So as we get going here, just put your hand up. Mike, thank you very much, and we'll bring a mic over and get started. I'm going to use this one.
Thank you all for doing this. Mike Benton, KGR Radio. for anybody here at the table with the on-ice goals in mind, how much can you walk us through with the change of responsibility between Ron and Jason and how that reflects the goals of talent acquisition and where this coaching search is going to go as well?
Yeah, no, we've talked about this. I feel strongly that if we're asking Jason to step into the GM chair and manage all those responsibilities, that he has to have final say in decisions. We will have discussions. I will give him my opinion. I know it won't be 100% in agreement all the time, but we will have those discussions. But at the end of the day, he will make the decision, the final call in those regards. You know, there's so much to do with the job, from, you know, players and agents and managing your staff and stuff. And this will free me up in some regards to do other specialized things where I can work closely with our young prospects, give them information maybe a little quicker as to whether we think guys are going to make it or not make it. It allows us to make decisions on signing guys or trading guys, mentor some of our young players, get out on the road with our staff. You know, there's more than enough work for two of us to do.
Glenn Dreyfus from Davy Jones Locker Room. A question that if both Todd and Sam would be willing to address, I'd appreciate it. Is it fair, is it legitimate to question the very, very top of the organization, the judgment at the very, very top, when you fired a coach who was a Jack Adams finalist and then fire his replacement 1 year later?
For sure, it's fair. And, you know, we live in a world where lots of people question things. I remember people questioning us starting this whole thing and bringing hockey to Seattle. But I do think we have a track record of being committed and deeply committed to doing the right thing. The path of least resistance for both these guys and the owners was to do nothing on the coaching side. But they thought we could do better. They thought that a move could actually move us closer to winning faster. So the question's fair, but there's a conviction at this table that we're doing the right thing, even if it means making tough decisions.
People are questioning us means they care, and that's good news for us. And like I said, Ron built this hockey organization from nothing, and we have great foundation here, and my job is to support Ron and now Jason and have interesting and difficult discussions, but to support their decisions because that's the role they're in.
Curtis Crabtree, Fox 13. For whomever feels best positioned to answer this one, can you guys kind of walk us through the decision with Dan and when you made the choice to go a different direction, and if there's a coach available or something that you had in mind, or was this purely on Dan's performance that you guys decided to go a different way?
No, I'll handle it. Yeah, no, you know, it would have been easy, as Todd said, just to leave things and go forward. I just, when we're watching the games, I didn't like the way we were playing. I thought our team could use more structure, more details in our approach, and the end of the day, we didn't get the results that we were expecting this year. So, yeah, the easy path is probably to sit there and say, okay, we'll try it all again next year and hope things go better. This is not an easy decision to make, but you know, this organization is about trying to take some risks and do things, and we just felt that at this point we needed to make a change. Going forward, I'll let Jason talk to that, but it's still early in that process to, you know, there's nobody at the top of the list right now that we're saying, this is our guy.
No, and from that standpoint, Ron and myself will put a list together here. We'll certainly begin interviewing people and going through that process, and then continue to evaluate the situation from there.
Hey, gents, congratulations, Jason. Thank you. Rob Simpson, SeattleHockeyInsider.com and VancouverHockeyInsider.com. Quick little follow-up to that. Status of the assistants is up to you and the new coach, or how's that going to work?
It'll be certainly up to the discussion once the new coach will come into the equation there. We've been happy with our assistant coaches, what they've brought to the table. Jess Campbell will certainly be back with our group here moving forward from that standpoint. We've liked what she's done with our young players. We think whatever coach we bring in here from a head coach standpoint, we'll have to work closely with our younger players. Ron and myself will look close at different opportunities to bring in players, whether it's from a free agent standpoint or a trade standpoint. But a big part of how we're going to move the organization forward is our young players stepping in, and not only players from CV or juniors making a step to National Hockey League, but our young players in the National Hockey League taking another step, whether that's a Matty Beniers, a Riker Evans, a Shane Wright, and that will be a big part of finding a new coach here.
If the player's not presently in the pipeline, and it doesn't appear that he is, where priority-wise is finding a true number one center for you?
I think that's always a priority, and you can never have enough number one center in this organization. And look, I think from just a team standpoint, we need to get back to our identity, which is speed. If you look at where we were a couple of years ago, teams continually talked about how fast we played the game. It's something that I think we have a lot of skaters that can move well. We got to find a system that just allows them to show that talent a little bit more. We'll continually look for star players. We'll continue to look to develop them within our system. We have another high draft choice this year. We'll look at trade possibilities. We have draft capital from that standpoint. But in the meantime, until that star player arrives, we'll continue to try to improve our team from an incremental standpoint. You saw what we did with a player like Kako coming into our organization, bringing an element of size, a net front ability. Those are things that we certainly want to. So we'll continue looking at all different scenarios to try to add to our group.
Last one, a little quickie follow-up to Curtis. Just out of curiosity, as former players, I asked Dan about this last week, the 0-12 in the back end of back-to-backs. Lack of passion, lack of preparation, lack of conditioning. Like, as former players, you were on a team, Ron, by the way, that had 3 number one centers. But like, as a Hall of Famer, what goes into losing all 12 back half?
It's a good question. We've done a lot of work on it. You look at the travel schedule, but really outside of 2 games, like for instance, the last game was Salt Lake City. We play in LA, we get to Utah, our guys get to bed, probably walk in their hotel rooms at 3 in the morning. By the time they get to sleep, it's 5. So that puts you at a disadvantage the next night. That happened a couple times, but not all 12. So that can't be an excuse. I thought maybe it was our conditioning, that we weren't in the shape we needed to be in, because a lot of times with our travel schedule, we don't practice as much. Using our tracking data, we actually skated faster in the second game than we did in the first game. So that tells me probably not conditioning. We looked at goaltending starts, right? Gruby started 6, Joey started 5, Steska started 1. So it was a question that we struggled with finding an answer to, and asking the there really wasn't a simple solution to it. We've got to find a way to be better in back-to-back games. 0-12, that's if you go 500, which is probably the norm, that's 12 points and puts us in a different position at the trade deadline. So it's something we need to address, especially with the schedule again probably being even more condensed next year. I think we'll face more back-to-back. So our mindset right out of the gate has to be much better in that second night of back-to-backs.
Back row, Mike Varell, Seattle Times, Dead Center. For Todd, I'm curious, you mentioned knowing the pedigree of winning and being around winners and just kind of understanding what that looks like. And obviously this franchise hasn't won as much as some people would have hoped in the first 4 seasons. But what are the pedigrees or the aspects of Jason and Ron behind the scenes that made you confident that they're the ones to continue to guide this ship forward?
So appreciate the question. I think, winning is about a lot of things. One of the things it's about is facilities. We have outstanding facilities. The players in the NHL recognize that and view us as having some of the best facilities. We have amazing fans. The fans have filled the building up, and they have created the league-wide perception that we have a real hockey town here. We have a great owner. She has been so supportive, and acknowledging her dad. We are going to win. We are going to win, and that was something so important to him. But then when I looked at the 2 guys to my right, Ron Francis has been a winner his entire life. He's a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. When the book is written someday about standing up this organization during a global pandemic, there will be stories revealed that just demonstrate how incredibly difficult that was. But he not only stood us up, he did what he said he was going to do. He said we were going to build an incredible cupboard of incredible prospects that are going to be the formula of success going forward. And we've done that. We have 37 prospects, and we rank very, very high. And then Ron attracted other people. The challenge with Jason sitting here is most people think it was preordained. But in my opinion, he was going to be the general manager of a team, and it was going to happen soon. And I am thrilled that he chose to say that it is Seattle that he wanted to apply his trade. He is so well respected. I got notes this morning from other people I know around the league saying, this guy is fantastic. And so when you add all of that together, those are all the pieces that I felt that we finally got together in the Seahawks. Those are the pieces that came together when I was with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I feel those pieces are in place here.
Darren Brown, Sound of Hockey, and NHL.com. For Jason, congratulations. From your standpoint, you mentioned looking for star players, but what are some areas of opportunity in terms of personnel for the team that you'll really be focusing on upgrading this offseason?
Well, I think, like I said, we have to get back to our true identity, which is a speed game. If you look at the areas for improvement, I'm not going to say size, I'm just going to say strength. We have to find ways of doing a better job in front of our own net and finding and doing a better job of getting to the opposition net. Those are areas that we just haven't got to. And I say strength just because you look at a player like Jaden Schwartz finds a way to get there and be one of our top players from a net front presence. So that's going to be there. And then to me, there's still a development of skill across the board that we have to do. Where we ended up in the standings, we have to continue to improve and add to our skill level in all areas. It's not as if we're one player away right now from a Stanley Cup championship. We have to become a perennial playoff team first and then find our way. But to me, it's going to come from two fronts. It's the young players pushing up into our organization, wanting to be a part of things. And the great thing that we're excited about is it's not like one player that we're focused on right now in Coachella Valley. Like I look at a scenario what Robert Cron and his staff has done from an amateur staff, from our draft picks. It's a wide range of players. You certainly have the skill players that a lot of people talk about. You saw this year Yanni Newman making a step in. We have Goyette Furcus down in Coachella Valley right now. But then this year, you look at a Villeneuve in junior or a Melanson this year bringing a physical element. Molgaard came over this year at the end of the season. He's going to now play the World Championships for Denmark. So we have a lot of different types of players coming up into our organization, and I'm not just sort of pinning it on one player. But no, it's going to be exciting from trying to find more skill at the NHL level, like when we made a trade for Kako, but also finding, the next level of younger players. We will leave roster opportunities open for competition from our young players because I think that's going to be a great chance for us to really improve as a team.
And to create those opportunities, do you foresee using buyouts possibly this summer?
Look, I think it's a situation where we'll look at everything over the summer on where we're at. At the end of the day, we're making a commitment to improving our roster, and whether that's buyouts, whether that's trades, that's the easy part of my job right now is the draft capital that's at my disposal. From whether we make those selections or we utilize it to make trades, it gives us a lot of different opportunities here moving forward to make some adjustments to our roster.
Answer my questions. Last one is, do you have any criteria in mind right now in terms of your next coach? Very early in this process, but in terms of what you're looking for?
No, and that's something that we look forward to just beginning our discussions and getting to know people a little bit better from that standpoint. I think there's going to be a lot of attributes that you certainly come into. I think finding someone who's a leader down there in our locker room, has a voice, has a strong voice, is certainly good at communication, but also good at utilizing the resources that this organization has. Whether you talk about R&D, development staff, information from Coachella Valley, like our strength and conditioning staff, there's a lot of information I think that a head coach or CEO down there can certainly utilize in building his lineup and building his roster, and we want to find someone who's willing to utilize all that to put the best team forward on the ice for the Kraken.
Zainbek, Debbie Jones locker room. 3 coaches in 5 years. What would you say to those who have concerns, especially from potential coaches who might view Seattle as a more volatile organization where coaches are not allowed the runway to see their long-term vision through?
Look, I think it's a situation that's already been talked about already here tonight. Like, we are dedicated to winning, and that's what, from that standpoint there. And, you know, where you can talk about the volatility, it can also talk about the excitement of our younger players. Like, you talked about centermen before. We have a center situation here right now of, you know, Stevenson, Wright, Beniers down the middle, with Berkeley Catton also another one that we certainly have signed that we have high hopes for in the future too. So I think a coach looks at this situation here and looks at the talent, looks at the opportunity, looks at our facilities, looks at a dedication to winning, and I think it's just still an opportunity for a lot of success here and a lot of a lot of future success. And we take a step back, like, look, the last year or two hasn't gone the way we wanted it and hasn't met expectations, but what I'm excited about, and when we have our conversations with Matty Beniers, and I talked in my first comments about just players wanting to be here and wanting to have success, like that first year for Matty Beniers when he played 14 playoff games, that was important for his understanding of what it takes to be in the playoffs, what it takes to have success not only in the regular season but moving forward there. So I'm ecstatic that there's, in this organization, there's a culture of winning in Coachella Valley. There's a culture of our players having success as a group. Now we have to find ways to get back to that. But from a coaching standpoint, I think there's so many resources at their disposal here, and they're excited about what we've, you know, as Ron alluded to, whether when free agents want to come here, young players coming up through our system, to me, it's a great opportunity moving forward here for them.
Brianna Vasquez, King 5 Sports. What are you looking for in the next head coach that the last two didn't have?
I would say that's an excellent question from that standpoint. Like, I think you look at it's the balance of finding ways to continue to develop our young talent. You know, I think it's always a fine balance for coaches to, hey, open things up, allow for the offense to grow, but also keep the details from a defensive standpoint. And, you know, I alluded to earlier about just our net front presence in the offensive zone, but also the defensive zone. I look at our defense being a strong group that should be one of the key elements of our organization and our team success. And the numbers this year just don't show it from that standpoint. So that was disappointing there. But I think we can talk about players coming in and everything, but it's, again, we've talked about our younger players have to continue to develop, and showing that development is going to allow us to get to, obviously, the playoffs and our future success.
Nico Tamuri and Como Sports here in Seattle. It's for anybody here. Just the idea that what about your core group of players makes it so it's not even a concern that it will be 3 coaches in 3 years, that it's not volatile, that it's this core group can kind of handle that?
Well, I think, you know, as I said, like when we have meetings with them at the end of the season, they're wanting to find solutions here. They're looking for us to find a solution and being a part of Seattle. There's no discussion about players wanting to go somewhere else. They're ecstatic about being here and being a part of it. And you know, I think they get excited about seeing, like, I know when Matty came in his first year, or at the end of our first season, it really elevated the hopes of our players. And I think that sort of happened in the second year, or this year and stuff too, with a player like Yanni Newman coming in and, you know, bringing a spark. And then they hear about some of our younger players. That gets them excited about moving forward here from that standpoint. And I think we've always had a very coachable group. I think they're continually looking for answers from, you know, whether it's our skill coaches or our sports performance staff on just, you know, what they can do to get stronger, what they can do to improve their conditioning. You know, they take it to heart that we were 0-12 in back-to-back games. It's not something that they just sort of wash their hands of. And to have a group that's dedicated to nutrition, dedicated to improving themselves, that's great to see. And now we have to find the right person to lead them.
We're not, in terms of volatility, it's not that we're just going to fire a coach if we keep losing, right? It's about how you learn from that, how you're coaching the team, how you're getting along, how you're communicating, how you're coachable by these folks. And for us, it's just about having the right fit. And you take risks, and sometimes you get that wrong for the organization.
Obviously, you had the experience in Buffalo and in the years here as the AGM role. How do you feel you're different as you get set to tackle this for a second time in the head chair? And what do you what have you learned from that experience with the Sabres to kind of push things forward here?
Yeah, look, you always learn from any experience that you go through. Shame on you if you don't. I have a lot of positive experience in Buffalo, and I'm always honored that the Pilgrims gave me an opportunity to be a general manager there. And I think just you go through the cadence of developing relationships with other general managers, with agents, the pressures of the job. You now know exactly what the role is going to be from this standpoint. What gets me so excited about this job right here is what we've talked about, the players in this organization and what's coming, but also the fact that you're coming in here and not evaluating things, that you know the staff right away here. I've been a part of it. As much as you try to get a feel for other teams in the National Hockey League, until you're in there working with them, you don't truly understand all the background information and all the sort of the intricacies of a team. So the fact that I've been a part of this organization, the fact that I know the players, I know the staff, just is going to, I think, allow me to make quicker decisions and move forward here, and that's what gets me very excited.
Jason, I think you mentioned earlier about the players and the exit meetings with all this process going on, and I think the back-to-back record a part of it. What else was an important part of their message that kind of led us here to this day and the coaching vacancy also?
Just to be blunt, nothing really.
Hi, Allison Ballard, Davy Jones Locker Room. This is for Jason or for Ron. Something that was mentioned just a couple minutes ago was the fact that Jason specifically said he believes that the defensive corps has the ability to play at a higher level, to execute at a higher level, and that was true a season ago, but it wasn't true this season. And you mentioned the numbers maybe not matching up with what you expect of that defensive corps. Why do you think the numbers didn't match up? What kind of led to that discrepancy there?
Yeah, I think there was some changes within our defensive structure in our D zone that led to us spending a little more time in our zone than maybe we needed to, and some of the just sort of little intricacies of how we played this year versus previous years, I think led to some of those more opportunities against.
All right, RJ Eskinos, Emerald City Hockey. I was wondering, Jason, could you expand a little bit more on what your role was as assistant GM over the last 4 years and kind of what that job entailed?
Yep, certainly I had interaction obviously with Ron on a lot of different things, but my job was to be out in the field from a player evaluation standpoint. Worked at times with Troy Bodie on just setting things up in Coachella Valley, but that was his main responsibility. What I oversaw was player development with Jeff Tambolini and our pro staff in Dave Basigio. From a player evaluation standpoint, certainly looked at trades, free agent acquisitions, but also made sure to try to have a strong feel for what our first round draft pick was going to be.
There was some talk about taking the next step to be a playoff team, and you were aggressive, brought in some veterans, big money contracts, long term, and it's a lot of the same talk I think so far going to this off season. And what difference in approach will there be, if any, to try and ensure a different team result from this summer's acquisitions?
Well, I think there's always. That's why you're looking at different mix. Our younger players will be a year older. I think that's always helps from that standpoint. At this time last year, we didn't know if Shane Wright was going to be a full-time NHLer or not. He did take the step. But, hey, we're going to be aggressive again in free agency from that standpoint. Adding in both Stevenson and Montour, you saw the passion that Montour brought day in, day out and stuff. I think that was certainly a strong addition to our organization. And we're going to continue to look to add those guys, players of that ilk, to our group here and stuff for sure.
And last one for Samantha. What is the standard for on-ice success for this organization? What is the timeline by which you expect the team to achieve that standard?
Yeah, so I think it takes time to build an organization, and now it's been 4 years, and I think what we would like to be is a sustained playoff team, and I think that's where we see you can't 100% define success that way. I think this organization is obviously bigger than what we do on the ice, and I'm very proud of what we've done here in this in the community, KCI, at CPA, all the people that work here, One Roof. We've done a tremendous amount of work in the community that I'm really proud of. I think that last step and the most important step is to get where we want to be on ice. So it's to be a sustained playoff team, and it's as soon as possible.
Ron, or both, do you guys think with the experience you have drafting, is 4 draft classes, are they ahead of schedule, or are you guys a little bit ahead of schedule on who you thought might be up here?
Yeah, I mean, every draft class is different. You know, some of it depends. Some draft classes are stronger than others. Some you pick higher than other drafts. So there's a lot of things there. I think one thing we've been able to do is accumulate a lot of draft picks and throw a lot of darts at the board. And I think with how our ownership has allowed us to build a player development staff to work with these kids. You know, we work with them constantly, even whether they're in junior and college. We're working with them all season long. You see it here in Dev Camp in the summertime, and we're trying to speed that process up as much as we can. But you know, we look at the pieces we have. There's a lot of pieces that we're excited about. It's just a process. It's not like other leagues in the sense that we get these kids a lot of times at 18 years old. And you're seeing it with, you know, Shane just turned 21, Maddie just turned 22. It takes time for these kids to develop into the NHL. It's not like some of the other sports. We were drafting them out, you know, out of college, maybe in his 4th year at 23 or 24 kind of thing. So there is a process to it, but we're excited about a lot of the names that Jason mentioned. You got to see some of those this year in our lineup, and you know, we're excited that the team in Coachella Valley is in the playoffs again, because that's huge experience for them and huge development for them, and we look forward to watching those guys play there as well.